Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here, y'all. We finally made it to the finale of Ready to Love Season 10. We made it, y'all. We made it to the end. And what an ending it was. We got a lot to talk about, y'all. What an ending it was with Sahara deciding to dump Cam at the altar. You know, I was rooting that both Cam and Sahara could get far enough away from their triggers that they might make it, but it was too much to overcome. I know that Sahara wants to gonna try to present that the reason why she decided to choose herself was because Cam was indecisive. That's not it. That's not it. That's not the reason. You see, I've been telling you guys very early on what Cam wants, what Cam needs in order for him to feel good. And I said, can the two go together? Can Cam's need to rescue, Cam's need for a woman to be really dependent on him, Cam's need for a woman to feel as if he is her hero. He likes a woman that needs saving. This entire season, Cam really, when he was vacillating between Sahara and Angie, it was really about which woman needs me the most and which woman will not be triggered by the way that I operate out here in the world. Cam has a high need, like I just said, to be needed, to rescue. He's a whole fireman. That's probably why he chose the profession, because it makes him feel good. And every time a woman showed more and more that she didn't need him, she wasn't willing to wait on him, she is strong, it pushed him away. When Angie was exhibiting her strength, that was not a good thing for Cam. We're going to talk about it more, even all of it. And then I told Sahara, if you stick to the damsel in distress, Cam will be in your pocketbook. But you see, Sahara couldn't stick to that because you know why? The damsel in distress role that she would have had to play, it triggers her. All this toughness that Sahara has, yet on the inside is a marshmallow. She can't play the role. It triggers her too much. The feeling of being vulnerable, the feeling of being rejected. You see, let's think about this with Sahara. Sahara said at the very end, the reason why she rejected Cam was because he took too long to choose her. Well, why this moment, Sahara? Why at the very last minute at the actual it's not an altar. I don't know what this thing is, wherever they met. Why that moment? You know why? Because Sahara's anxiety got so high about being rejected or abandoned. She couldn't risk fear. She couldn't risk in that moment that he would say no to her. Sahara had already decided she was going to reject Cam before she even had to sit through and figure out whether or not he was going to reject her. Because if it was just about he had taken too long to figure it out, she would have done it long time ago. You see, but what it's like? It's like you have a fear of heights, and you've got some friends going to the local amusement park, and they say, "Why don't you go with this girl?" And she goes, "Girl, I have a fear of heights. I don't really like roller coasters." And you say, "Come with us anyway. We're not going to get on big roller coasters. It's going to be fine." And you've always known your whole life you've had fear of heights, but you also know you've missed out on a lot of good things because of your fear of heights. Lots of things people do you can't do because you have a fear of heights. That's Sahara. Sahara has a fear of relationships. She has a fear of being rejected, and she knows she's missing out. She wants love. She wants relationships. But listen, relationships are risky. There is a fear of rejection when you pursue relationships. But Sahara really wants a man. She really wants to be in a relationship. So she comes on this show, probably the worst show to come on because it's definitely going to trigger her not being chosen. Remember, Sahara was almost booted off the very first episode. When she came face to face rejection on the very first episode, remember how angry she got? Remember how she cursed up a storm? Remember how she was so angry at Fritz, who was the one who got rid of her? She exacted revenge on her. When Sahara was at this altar with Cam and he rejected her, she didn't lead with where she really was, which was fear. That's really what her real emotion was, fear. Fear of being rejected. She led with her angry side, anger, yelling, screaming, okay? Telling him it's his fault the way she feels. And he said, why am I responsible for me waiting to the last minute? That's what the show is all about. Well, in Sahara's world, she doesn't want to have to learn how to control her fears of rejection. So just like I was talking about your friend going to the amusement park. You go to the amusement park because you don't want to miss out on the fun with your friends. You go. You stand in the line. The line is 2 hours. This show was freaking, I don't know how long they filmed it. We've been here for damn near a year, but they stand in the line. You get all the way up to when you're about to get in and on the roller coaster, and your friend says, "Oh, I can't do it. My fear, my anxiety is too much. I can't do the last step." And that was Sahara. Sahara's fear of being rejected got the best of her, and she preempted. That's why she was over talking Cam. That's why she didn't even want to hear what Cam had to say, because what she was saying was she would not be able to take the rejection. And what's better than taking the rejection, which is her trigger, is to reject before he had the chance to. You see, two people with their own triggers. And like I said, the more that Sahara and Angie kept this tough girl act going with Cam, telling Cam to make a decision, telling Cam they don't really need him, the more they pushed him away. Am I saying he was worth it? That's not my decision to make. Am I saying that Sahara was worth it? I'm not. That's not my decision to make. I think the point I'm trying to make here is this needs to be a lesson to everyone. You need to know your triggers before you date, because if you don't know your triggers, you oftentimes will prescribe blame to another person because of your own previous triggers. You see, previous triggers. Sahara prescribed too much blame to Cam for the fact that she has extreme anxiety over being rejected. A lot of people called her a pygmisha. In a lot of ways, I understand what they were saying, that she really wanted to be chosen. She did. She really did want to get on the roller coaster. She really did want to have fun with all her girlfriends at the amusement park. But her anxiety just got too strong. And a lot of times when people are scared or they have anxiety, actually what it turns into is anger. It presents as anger. And that's what Sahara presented to Cam. And Cam, on the other hand, his high need to be a hero, what he did was he kept waiting to see who was the woman that was going to show the most need for him so that he would be his ride or die chick. You see, Cam just doesn't want you to love him. He wants you to need him, because there's a good chance that Cam also suffers from being felt like you might leave him. And he probably says, hey, if you need me, there's a less chance you will leave me. And so I want a woman who's going to really need me, who's going to be my ride or die to never leave. And that's what he was trying to figure out all this season between Angie and Sahara. He thought he found it in Sahara. But the problem with Sahara is that she has fight or flight. Now, if he had chosen Angie at that thing, she would have stuck around. You know why? Because I'm not for sure that Angie's fear of being rejected is as strong as Sahara's. It's not. I don't think her fear is as strong. But they're not a good match anyway. So many reasons why Angie and Cam were a good match. So in the end, Sahara chose herself. You can tell yourself, girl, that all along. I don't believe it. You chose yourself in the manner of you chose yourself in what made you not feel so vulnerable. You chose yourself in terms of what made you feel like you were back in control of your emotions and your feelings and your destiny. Great. But you did not choose yourself because Cam was playing with you. I think Cam really likes Sahara. I said it. Cam really wanted to save Sahara. The problem is Sahara doesn't like the feeling of needing to be saved. That's the tattoo on the neck. That's all the rah-rahness. That's all the ghetto-ness that she has, that she can protect herself. She don't need nobody. But every time she presents that person who doesn't need anyone, and she's strong and doesn't need anyone, she's going to be alone. And it's just like a dangerous cycle. It's a dangerous cycle. But like I said, know your triggers. We're going to talk about it. That's my intro, but we're going to talk about it. Let's get into it because we got a lot to talk about. And I'm going to try to stay away from this ending that we saw when we had the reunion, when Rose is confronting Hussein and telling Hussein, how is it that you rejected me when you yourself served time in prison? I can't wait to see the entire clip. Because do I believe Rose entirely? No, because right now, Rose has a history of presenting half-truths. So before I jump all the way down the neck of Hussein, we can save that for next week. I got to know about this time in prison Rose is talking about, because Rose has a way of making it seem as if her situation is the same as others. She did it to Cam when he let her go, when they were talking about sleeping in a room with each other. She tends to take situations and act like they're the same so that she can avoid accountability, so that she can deflect. So unless Hussein is like her baby daddy and serves 6 to 7 years in prison, we know he ain't in prison. I'm going to have problems with the analogy of Rose. We know that Hussein served times in a reform school, a boys' home, some form of juvenile detention. We know that. So if Rose is going to start telling us that that's the prison that he was in, and she's going to equate that to not telling us about a baby daddy in prison, I'm going to have a problem, because I draw a distinction on that. And I also draw a distinction, many of you pointed out, what difference does it make who you date in the past? I agree. I agree that when you have a past boyfriend or a past relationship, you don't necessarily have to tell your next boyfriend, girlfriends, everything about all your past relationships. I agree with that. Except when that past relationship has produced a child that will be your present and your future. I know a lot of you believe that it doesn't make a difference. It does. Because if I just dated somebody back in 1999 and I don't see them, don't have to see them, they have no place in my life, I don't have to co-parent with them, that's completely different from you have a whole baby daddy with a child. And I don't care that your child is 17 years old. You will forever be tied to that man. If your child gets sick, if your child needs help past 18 years of old, which most do, you have to co-parent. If your child gets married, you have to co-parent. So this idea that it's the same as a person you dated that's in prison that you dated 15 years ago and you just dated them versus a person you dated and you have a child, it is different. And when you have a child with someone and you're entering in a new relationship, that ex-parent, that ex-whatever, boyfriend, father, moves along with you. Whether you women want to believe it or not, whether you men want to believe it or not, it is pertinent information. So like I said, I'll have to hear the whole explanation. But like I said, Hussein's triggers were people who lie. I said it before. When you grow up in the system, you don't trust a lot of people. You can't trust a lot of people. And Rose should have known his triggers. And his triggers were be people who lie. Okay? But let's move on, because when Hussein came in, we thought he was going to meet Angie's friends. And we find out he said, hey, I'm not going to go through with this. Good for Hussein, because I think Hussein really did like Rose. I do. And when I tell you have a hard time with trust, I said it last week, he was going to go into a tortoise shell because he put himself out there, because he's hard for him to trust. He trusted Rose. It fell apart and he went back in his tortoise shell. And what he said is, I can't pivot that far, that soon. It takes me time to recover. When you've been triggered, it takes time to recover. And when Hussein was triggered by the lies of Rose, he said, I can't just turn on a dime and go over here and talk to Angie's parents, because guess what he would be doing? He would be lying. You see, and when people are triggered, the last thing they want to do is trigger another person the same way they're triggered. That's why I really want to hold out to see the whole story behind Hussein being in prison. Because what Hussein told Angie was, I don't want to lie in front of your face and lie in front of your family's face and act like I'm really considering choosing you or asking you to continue together after this journey. I don't want to stand in your face and lie, right? And he said, I'd rather just self-eliminate. That's what I was saying about Sahara. When you know your triggers, you can preempt situations, because what you'll know is, I will be too triggered in that moment and I don't want to get there, you see? And so what Hussein did was Hussein self-eliminated. And I commend him for it. I said it last week. You don't have to choose anyone, Hussein. It is not mandatory. You can go home alone. And that's exactly what he did. But in that, when Angie then had her family come, her family came and her family was able to meet Cam. Cam, his brother, wife, and his sister. And once again, come through married people to explain to these single people some things you're going to have to develop if you're going to make it in a marriage. And what Angie's brother told Angie was, you're too much, you're too spicy, and you're scaring that man. Thank you, brother. And I got to imagine that this brother has been in Angie's life. Well, he's his brother a long time. And I've got to imagine that Angie's brother has told her this, but she doesn't listen. Angie doesn't want to do the work to tone down what is triggering her to show up the way she is, talking about busting out windows. Nobody wants to be paying no car insurance deductible to be getting no window fix. Folks out here got $1,000 and $2,000 deductibles. We're not trying to pay out-of-pocket expenses to fix no windows that Angie is busting up. And when Angie was sitting there, Cam's need to feel used was getting triggered. First of all, Angie's brother told Cam Angie gets bored quickly. Triggered. When you got a woman, when you got a need for a woman to really need you, the last thing you want to hear is that the woman gets bored quickly, which means she runs quickly. Nope, that ain't gonna make Cam feel comfortable. Forget about the busted out windows. The running is what's really gonna trigger Cam. And Cam said to Angie and her family, love is scary. He's scared. So he's scared to be left by a woman. And so what he does is, I need to pick a man or pick a woman who will really need me, so that there's less of a chance that she will run away. You could see that when Angie was there on the family date, she was leaning in to get a kiss from Cam, and he didn't want to kiss her. You know why? Because Cam was always going to choose Sahara. He was always going to choose Sahara. He didn't want to kiss Angie. He didn't even want to have an appearance of it. That's why Angie got the cheek from Cam. But it was her brother who told her, you are scaring him and you are scaring away the love and you don't even realize it. Now, does she not realize it, brother? She may realize it, but what she doesn't want to do is she doesn't want to do the work to stop it. Because in order to stop it, what Angie would have to do is control her own triggers and go deep and figure out why she does it. You see what I'm saying? This is why a lot of people don't want to change. What they prefer is to stay the same way and try to find a person who will put up with their triggers, their anxieties, their fears, all of this stuff. That's what they're really looking for. So this idea, I can't find anyone. No, you can't find anyone to put up with what you don't want to fix. But if you do the work and you figure out your triggers and you do the hard work, you will find someone. You will find someone. So right now we got Cam out here. We got Sahara out here. We got Angie out here. We got Hussein out here. We got all these people with all of these triggers and wounds from their past, bringing them into today's dating world, trying to find people to heal their wounds. Heal your own wounds, and then you will be more attractive in the dating place. And let me tell you something. Once you learn about your own triggers and your own wounds, you will be better able to see them in others. Angie's brother told her with some good advice is when you're married, you start to learn people's triggers, your spouse's triggers, because they're with you. You start to see it over and over again. And as a responsible partner, you have to learn not to poke the bear, not to push the triggers of your wife or your spouse, because it's always a sore spot in our lives. It is very hard to get rid of them. You can become aware of them. You can use coping mechanisms, but sometimes it's hard to get rid of them completely. And once your spouse knows your triggers, they have a duty, a responsibility by loving you to not push them all the time. But we also have a responsibility to know when we're being triggered, okay? And know how to calm ourselves, know how to soothe ourselves, know how to take a minute, take a break before we respond. And all that response by Sahara at that altar or whatever you want to call it was triggered. And you know who else was triggered by an old wound? Tommy. That advice he gave Cisco with him crying and Taye about carry the load. First of all, Tommy, that was your past. Great. But you were not 42 years old when you were growing up trying to become a comedian and your wife had to carry a financial load. Like I said, it's not apples to apples. When you're 20 years old and you're trying to build a career, people understand this. Cisco is 42 years old, no car, no house. I understand the life of a comedian. Many comedians used to perform for free, making no money. It's not the same, Tommy. It's absolutely not the same. And from what I hear, it took Tommy a long time to marry his wife. So you obviously wasn't that grateful, because even when your wife or girlfriend carried the load, from what I understand, I could be wrong, it took you a long time to marry her. Taye don't have that much time. She's in her mid to late 30s, okay? And now she's over here choosing Cisco. You're validating Cisco. Once again, another person coddling and validating Cisco at 42 years old. What is this career that Cisco is waiting on? Something tells me it's modeling. That's why he's always in the gym. Something tells me that Cisco wants to be an actor and he wants to be a model. And right now, modeling isn't paying a lot of work. But it's hard for him to get a job because he needs to continually be available for modeling gigs, extra gigs on TVs. I'm pretty soon that after Ready to Love, we're gonna see Cisco on a Tubi movie. We will. He's gonna be on another show because I think that's what he's doing out here in the world. And what he wants Taye to carry the load financially. Taye makes a lot of money. I'm telling you, that job she has pays well. And what Cisco is doing is he's looking to get a woman who makes a lot of money, who is making decisions based on her vagina. Like she said, you real fine, you what I want. Okay. And what she's going to find out with Cisco is that the love and attention that Taye really wants, because she does want it. She wants a family. She wants a child. She's not going to get it. Because why would Cisco, when he can't even take care of himself, he can't take care of you, why would Cisco then say, okay, I want another child that if this relationship doesn't work out, I'll have more child support to pay? He's not going to do that. He's not going to want to pay more child support for another child. And if you have to make all the money, Taye, who's going to be taking care of the child? Do you think Cisco is going to want to be a stay-at-home dad and take care of the children? No, he's got modeling gigs to go to. He's got auditions to go to. Okay. If he's not doing that, if he's not playing that role as a house husband to his children now, he's not going to do it to yours. I don't even care if you're making a lot of money. He wants you to make a lot of money, Taye, so that he can have the freedom to go to modeling gigs and acting gigs. That's what he wants. So Taye is out here choosing a man for the wrong reason, all because he cracked her back, all because he's fine and he got muscles. And what she's thinking is, I can carry the financial load because I know I make a lot of money and I have high earnings potential. So I'm not so worried about Cisco's salary. The problem that Taye is not looking at is not just Cisco's salary, but Cisco's motivation and what he's doing. You see, and that's the problem she's going to have with. She might can overcome the money because she probably makes good money herself, but she's not going to be able to overcome the part of Cisco where he takes zero accountability and he thinks about himself first. Because it's selfish for Cisco to be even on this show, to be looking for a wife or a girlfriend when he doesn't have a place to stay, he doesn't have a car to drive, and he doesn't have a job. It's irresponsible. It means he cares more about him than he does about you. And that's the part, Taye, that you won't be able to overcome. That's the part that money can't buy. When Cisco met Taye's sister, he told her, I'm hoping this will continually grow, possible marriage, possible kids. How is that any different than what Khalil was promising, Taye? How is possible marriage, possible children any different from when Khalil said, I would want to get to know you first and then have children next? It's no different. See, I believe Taye suffers from the same part that Cam suffers, which is an enormous need to be needed. That's what I feel goes on with Taye. And by getting with Cisco, I think it locks her in to being assured that he will stick with me because I'm paying all the bills. Here's the problem. Cisco's good looking. He got a nice body. And the problem that you're going to have is that he's going to be able to go from woman to woman to woman because there's always going to be a woman out there who's willing to pay for his looks and his body. So this idea that he's going to stick with you just because you have money, well, that might just be until another woman comes along that has money. That's not a foundation for a strong relationship. Do you want a person where you guys are interdependent on each other? Yes. But you do not want a person who is completely dependent on you, because what happens is that person will start to feel helpless in the relationship. You will become resentful after a while, and it's not healthy. Is it always going to be balanced in terms of economics? No, it's not always going to be balanced. You're never going to have a 50-50 household, right? That's typically not what goes on. You typically have income disparity within a household. Sometimes the woman makes more, sometimes she makes less. Same thing with the man. But this idea that both Cam and Taye are seeking people who are so strongly, they want them to be so strongly dependent on them so that these people don't have other options, is hurting them and finding love. It's hurting them. Heal your own triggers, heal your own wounds. And then what that will allow you to do is choose your partners differently and from a more healthy state. In the end, Kiara and Jay chose each other. We knew that was going to happen. We knew back when they were fighting, that fight was just going to be a small blimp in the road, because what Kiara was doing was just trying to teach Jay a lesson, to teach him how to treat her right, the way she wants to be treated, to pander to her spoiled womanness at her grown age, and still doubling down on this idea that she's bougie and spoiled, two of which she's neither. Because who's been spoiling her? Who has been spoiling you, Kiara? I want to know. But where they did align on, they aligned on the fact that Jay says he gets it from his parents. He wants to be a leader, a protector, a provider, and he wants to provide 100% for Kiara. And Kiara says, that's great, because I'm bougie and I'm spoiled, and that's exactly what I want. But what Jay said was, if you listen very carefully, was he said he likes a woman with a little bouginess, but he said, I also want to provide for her because I want my woman to be soft. When I'm out there in the world and I'm battling the world, and I'm fighting the world, and I'm making all this money and bringing home the bread, I'm going to want a woman at home who is soft and who is nurturing. But here's the problem, Jay. Kiara is not nurturing. Kiara is spoiled. You see what I'm saying? Spoiled is that persona of a child. A child does not nurture other people. What a child does is a child throws temper tantrums so that you will continually pander to their needs. You see? So Jay is expecting that he's going to go out in the world, he's going to slay the world, he's going to conquer the world. And then what's going to happen is he's going to come home, and there's going to be this nice, sweet Kiara with this nice, soft voice. And what she's going to do is she's going to nurture Jay and take care of him. She's not going to do that. How does a spoiled person start to nurture someone else? They're not going to do it, because a spoiled person, as Kiara has described herself, is a person who is focused on getting her needs met. So when Jay says he's going to provide 100%, she says, great, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I want. But what ways has Kiara said that she's going to nurture Jay? We haven't seen it yet. See, all this part about Jay being a flirt, let's roll with it. Let's say he likes to flirt with women. Why does he like to flirt? He likes the attention. Let's go with that. He likes to flirt because he likes the attention. Well, how can a person who is spoiled and she herself wants all the attention, she herself wants everything, how will she then give her man attention when he's seeking it because he needs it so much? This ain't going nowhere either. Sorry to tell you that they will clash, because you can't have two people who like attention in a couple, right? You can't have Kiara who likes attention and Jay, who you're saying is spoiled. His parents said he was spoiled too. His parents said he likes attention. He just said, I want to be the leader, the protector, the provider. I want to be the one at the top of the chain. I want to flirt with women with my eyes. He likes attention. You see, even when they got in this big fight with each other, the reason I told you how it got flipped on Kiara was the one running around, wanting to be spoiled, wanting the one with all the attention. That's why she brought Jules, to make Jay jealous. That's what she did it for, because she wanted to get more attention. So the way I make you give me attention is to make you feel jealous. Well, guess what Jay did? He flipped it on her, because they're two peas in the pod. They're the same person. What Jay did was says, you want to make me jealous? You want to act as if I need to give you more attention? You know what I'll do? I'll go over here and rub and flirt on Sahara, even though I don't want her to manipulate you into giving me more attention. So this is what these two people will be doing in the house, Kiara and Jay. They will be pushing each other's buttons. They will be triggering each other. They will be outdoing each other. They will be tit for tat. Their fights will be explosive. I'll see if they're together at the reunion. I doubt it. I doubt it. Because how can two spoiled people be together? They can't. Sahara's sister knew that Sahara and Jay Cam weren't a good fit. You could tell. Sahara said that her sister was 3 times as bad as she is. She said her sister is not as evolved as she is. Well, Sahara, you're not very evolved either. And I sure would like to see what a cookout looked like with Sahara's family. I bet it's off the chain. I bet the thermometer, the temperature, the volume level is very, very high. And when Sahara was sitting up there being confrontational in front of the meet the family date, when she was telling her sister he's indecisive, her anxiety was triggered. You could see it. You could see it. You could see Sahara desperately needing Cam to say, I choose you now, because she could not take the mystery. She could not wait for the process that Cam said he had, because he too is scared to make a decision. He was scared, okay, because he's still trying to figure out who is really going to be the ride or die. And when Sahara kept trying to press Jay, Jay said, you're not going to pressure me. You're not going to tell me what to do. Remember, and when Cam was telling Sahara, you're not going to pressure me, you're not going to tell me what to do, he was pushing back, just like his family said. He's stubborn. You're not going to push him to do something too soon before he feels safe. And his safety is knowing that you're always going to be there. And that's what's hurting Cam out in the world, because in his delay in feeling safe, that girl will be a ride or die chick. Any woman who's insecure, any woman who has fear of abandonment, it will trigger her at the same time. But yet, any woman that does not have a fear of abandonment will also trigger Cam. He's in a tough spot. That's why I say, fix your own triggers before you go out here in the dating world. Because if you go out in the dating world just trying to find someone who's not going to trigger you, you're not going to be successful. Cam is triggered by both independent women who don't need him, and he's triggered by women who have fear of abandonment. Because as they get fear of abandonment, what they will do is they will get angry, they will get upset, and they will start threatening him that they're going to leave him. And then when they do that, he's out. He's out. He is in a no-win situation until he gets a hold of this fear that he has. Cam had to choose either between a woman who is confessing over and over again that she has broken windows, she will break them again, so you better have a low deductible on your car insurance. And he has to choose between another woman who's sitting in front of him with her sister talking about, we will jump you. This is what Sahara is talking about. We will jump you. Girl with the neck tattoo. Sahara, it's too much. It is really, really too much. Do I think any of these people will be together at the reunion? I don't think so. I don't think that the two spoiled people, Jay and Kiara, will make it, because two spoiled people can't go together. I don't think that Taye and Cisco would go together, because I think what Taye was banking on, that she was going to be able to buy Cisco to be there by her side. I'm pretty sure that Taye has a very demanding schedule in her profession, being a nurse. She probably works a lot of hours. And what she was hoping for, that she would get a house husband, and when she came home, he would be there waiting for her with dinner cooked. And Cisco will be saying, I don't have time because I need to go out and audition and go to some modeling gigs. So what Taye will get will be nothing. So I don't suspect that they will be together again. I don't. And I suspect that Sahara will still show up unaware that she did not choose herself. She chose safety. Let's be clear. She did not choose herself out of pride. She chose safety because in Sahara's world, she's much more comfortable being angry and loud and boisterous and mean than she is being vulnerable. It had nothing to do with self-respect. She chose safety, but she'll come to the reunion unaware of that. I'm pretty sure of it. And like I said, we'll have to hear the whole story between Hussein and Rose. But if Hussein lied and he has been in prison outside of this juvenile detention, juvenile prison system that he told us he was in when he was younger, I don't know. We'll have to deal with it. It'll give us something to talk about, y'all. When Sahara left, she got off our screen. She told Cam, suck it. Well, this whole season sucked. This whole season can suck it. But we'll see y'all at the reunion because I'm still going to be there. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Talk to you later. Bye.